Hello, welcome to Stop Now. I'm JK. This is our call in show. We are back with this week episode and we are joined back again by our wonderful special guest Harold D'Souza and my teammate Shiva, who is going to be a co host.
Yeah. Hi, welcome, sir. I am co-host Siva.
Hello Shiva, thank
Welcome
you
to
very
Stop
much.
Now.
And
Yeah.
thank you JK and thank you Stop Now.
Let's begin this call-in show. As everyone know that we have been doing this for quite some time, and we welcome everyone to join us, ask our special guest the questions you need to ask, and the numbers are displayed on the screen. You can call in, or you can even join us through the Zoom. And also, if you want to share the stories, this is a program where we bring in awareness, and we wholeheartedly thank Harold for doing an excellent job by being a survivor of human trafficking and labor trafficking, and now he is an advocate of human trafficking, and he has been taken a long journey, which we already had a good show to start with, and now we are going to do a fundraising program for Eyes Open International. Harold, how do you feel? What is your take on the partnership that we are going to establish with Stop Now?
I'm super excited what Stop Now is doing. I'm more excited that how we all invented and created this Stop Now. Like the way you told me, you all got all friends together and you wanted to do something on humanity. And that is very powerful, and that's why I tell every community members that every individual has the power to change the outcome. It's not that we say, the government, the law enforcement agency, every individual who's watching this show right now has the power. And that is a living example like what Shiva, JK, and Stop Now delegates have done. And I'm very proud to be a partner, like Eyes Open International, to partner with Stop Now. And to ensure that more victims and survivors, not only in the US and globally, get freedom. Thank you.
Yeah, one thing is a general question. Like, if is it a human trafficking in US? This is the biggest democratic country, but on the above they saying for a security reason they are shaming our president Abdul Kalam ji and most film stars who named as a Muslim names. They have a scene in an airport and they have threatened. What do you think about the thing?
It is. What you're saying is to a certain level is true. I know that whenever like I heard about like Shah Rukh Khan coming in
Yeah.
and Kamala Hassan, they were detained at the airport for a couple of hours, but eventually they were given the status they came in. I don't know what is the procedures, protocols, or policies being followed, but I always believe that you cannot discriminate any country, any religion, any nationality. I respect even the Muslims. I'll be very honest. Just because he's a Muslim does not mean that he's a bad guy. And just because I'm a Christian does not mean I'm a good guy. It's vice versa. So I think that needs to be, I don't know how that needs to be abolished from the human mind. And that how can happen? Like I agree with you, Shiva, but we have to take the initiative and educate the ICE and all the immigrants. That is what we are doing. I'm talking to, like, I'm being invited to train the law enforcement agencies, and even the FBI and the ICE, so that they can understand or they can ensure that a victim does not get prosecuted. Because many times, out of 10, 9 times the victim gets prosecuted. So, but now the things are changing. Thank you.
That's the biggest problem in US. You said, because of US is an event, they most want to safeguard them. Only white people or their known person who want to be in an event. No Indians or no other country to enter in event. What is it, the reason to safeguard them?
No. See, today you are there, I am there, so we cannot say that. They respect and broad people, black people. There are a lot of immigrants here, refugee camps. This country has done a lot of good stuff. See, many countries there are so many restrictions. If you want a status, you want a visa, you cannot go, including India. Like if any immigrants from a different country wants to go to India, you just can't get the visa. It's difficult. I didn't know that. Because I'm from India, I just took it for granted. But there are so many people from different countries. They cannot travel to India because there's a big process and there are so many times people have been denied. So America is heaven. I agree with you. But see, they have set up the level so high. Whatever it is, it's good. So people think, but there are, it's no question there are no downfalls. But I know, Shiva, you might be doing laundry work in the house. You might be vacuuming the house. I do it myself. Right? Here Bill Gates goes and does his own grocery. Principals, CEO drive their own car. Unlike India, even if you're a manager, you will get a driver, chauffeur, you will get somebody to help you. So this country is different. You have to understand the dynamics. So overall, I think I respect America. I love India. I love even countries like Pakistan, Nepal, and all, like whatever on the entire world, because I have friends all over the world. So when I talk to every individual, they are good human beings, and that matters the most. Thank you.
Harold, on that question, right? So I don't want to get into the politics of it, right? Our agenda is on handling, creating, educating people, and making awareness on human trafficking and how this labor trafficking works. The surprising part for me on that question, right? Every country has its own right and constitution way they want to handle the immigration system. That's fine. And as per even Gallup survey, more than 150 million people want to immigrate to United States, right? It's the preferred destination all over the world because of various reasons, right? So we have that dominance and attracting the immigrants. This is basically the country of immigrants. That is how everybody sees it, and land of opportunities and so many other things we can talk about it. The liberty and freedom and pursuit of happiness and all those things are there. But the problem is when so many talented people want to immigrate and become a citizen and cherish their life in this country, why the immigration system is so broken and why do they need the non-immigrant visa? That is what my struggle in understanding, right? Non-immigrant visa, we interviewed some of the attorneys, they themselves admitted that it has to be abolished. It has been created for specific reason as a specialty occupation, but then tying it to the employer and holding them as a victim, right, under their control. So when you give control to somebody on you, what happens, right? So that is my surprise thing. I'm still not able to figure it out. When so many million people are willing to immigrate, why have the non-immigrant visa?
Can you explain me about what do you mean by non-immigrant visa?
So non-immigrant is people who come on a temporary visa, right? For example, H1B, let's take that specific,
Okay.
right? Or agricultural workers, right? Those are seasonal workers, right? And they come here for 3 years or whatever the extension period they get it, 6 years, and then they have to leave, right? They have to go back. Why do you put that kind of condition and why do you need that? The question is, people wanted to immigrate, right? And even with the H1B, it is called as a dual intent, right? Coming on that visa and then staying on the backlog for 10 years, 15 years. You know that Indians are on the backlog for green card for 60, 70 years, something like that. I don't know whether that's true or not, but why do you create such a system and harass people?
See, Shiva and JK, I don't think so it's a question of harassment. Today, if you make some law for the benefit of the community members globally, see, like you rightly said, America, it's a country of freedom, freedom of speech, freedom of liberty, freedom of choice, which is very good. During this pandemic also, there was year for vaccination. We didn't have to pay anything. There was no panic. People got stimulus package. So the way they have monitored, controlled, and navigated during the pandemic, I really admire this country. We have to respect that. In some countries, people have died for no rhyme or reason. I have lost so many of my friends in India for no rhyme or reasons, just because they didn't get oxygen or they didn't get a ventilator. So when I hear that, it really hurts me. But then things are changing in India. But when you said about non-immigrants, JK, they have created an opportunity for these people, even maybe they come from Mexico who are unskilled for agriculture work. So they can come here, work for 6 months and go back. What happens? system has been created for good intentions. But traffickers or people who are middlemen, they manipulate them, trick them, and trap them. They take it for their own benefit because they make a lot of money. Even if these people, agriculture farming, I've seen in Florida, there are so many cases that these people have come from maybe Mexico or Guatemala, but during for that 6 months also they're not paid. They are meant to stay in a very, very unhealthy situation, maybe in the trucks or in the tankers, which is very sad. So eventually, I think we have to address not the law enforcement agency. We need to attack the perpetrators. See, I'll tell you one thing. Today we said there are 40 million victims of human trafficking across the world. They're talking about it. They give a figure of 40.3 million. I always try to flip it. For that 40.3 million victims who are the victims globally, including US, how many perpetrators are controlling? It's not in 1 million. Nobody has the stats. It's, I think, maybe like 500,000. If we start attacking the perpetrators, because under one perpetrator I've seen here in the US, in situations like in restaurants, gas stations, motels, convenience stores, under one perpetrator in 1 year, he rotates maybe like minimum 50 to 100 people, victims. And they just move from one state to another, do not get paid. But we know who the traffickers are. But only thing that I was talking when I was at the White House, Shiva and JK and the audience were watching, then you say why law enforcement agency is not doing this. So there was a very healthy discussion. I was on a panel with Ambassador John Richmond, and he himself stated that, which was a very valid point. I really admire him. He said that today police officers, ICE, they got 100 things on their bucket list. Human trafficking is not on the top. And they are answerable for so many other problems. So what the solution was that, we are just discussing is that to appoint delegates who are only focusing on human trafficking or labor trafficking and maybe sex trafficking, but labor trafficking separately. Then there can be some changes. That's why people are not even getting prosecuted. Because it is a time-consuming thing. But things are changing. I can assure you that today what you are doing, because whatever you are doing today, this voice is going to be heard. Don't think that it's not going to be heard. It's going to be heard in Texas, in the US. It will go to DC. It will go to different countries. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, Harold. Sorry, like we were getting a call from the first caller in the show. Like I was not able to connect that call because you were going passionately, and I was trying to hold the call.
Stop me.
Stop now. Like we are going to say that. Okay. Hopefully the caller calls back, or he can send us a message, or he can live chat with us and put in the question. We'll ask that question. Meanwhile, before we get into that caller, so what you said, I agree on that, Errol. There is no disagreement. Let's go with this social experiment that we are conducting, right? We are doing a case-by-case investigation. Everyone who reports these kind of violations and abuses, we just don't take it by the face value or just for somebody is reporting us, right? We all know that, like how the legal process works and how complicated it might get into certain times. And this is one of the interview we had in the past. I would like to play that out and ask your feedback on that. Let's see that it's already there on our channel. Bias abuse. He has shared a file. I thought of playing that file out and ask the question afterwards.
That was the only thing that I had when I called you when you said that you will be paying $1,000. From my notes, I see you're supposed to. I don't even know what we have collected from you so far.
Yeah, that's the
So
thing.
you tell me, right? It is not that I am telling you something that is new. This is something that you knew. A work authorization comes at a cost. It could be we always said comes at a cost. Doesn't work that way.
I understand. I know that the business doesn't work in that way. Like I do agree on that. You just have to give me some breathing space. Things have changed so much, right? I'm not making here a bargain and right. I am just trying to survive. That's the logic, right?
this is something that is discussed. You have issues, you have things. Should I be bothered? Not really. Because your H1B file has just been picked up, and now they're working on it. And I don't have no money from you. Our money has already been cash from USCIS on. So that leaves me. So if I start telling you my issues, right, then will that work? It doesn't work. So you just tell me now, when are you going to pay me? That's all I want to know. I don't want to know, there is issues, you're not here, I have to trust you. I don't want to know all that. You tell me, when will you give me them? That's all I want to know. So
But then, I have no money. How do I survive with my family? That is the problem. It's not that I have money and I don't want to give and I just want to get my H1B and get away with it, right? I'm not. I have to survive. On that aspect, I am just requesting. I'm requesting in help. So please don't misunderstand me. And what do you want me to do then?
She's telling you when you can pay and how you can pay. I mean, I'm a little confused because first we already decided that you're going to pay in installments and then see if the money, the pay rate is going to be increased, will it help her or not?
Yes.
But now you're saying that you don't have the money, so what is it? This is a little confusing. We are waiting till August 14th, which means we are ready to give you chances. We have been giving chances and we are still waiting and still working with you on your terms to see how we can come up with a plan. Nobody here even had a conversation or a talk wherein we told you, oh, we're going to tell you lump sum you pay or leave. We never even said that, but that's apart from the point, you went all around with the circle, but let me just tell you, send an email with your rate confirmation. I will check it, come up with a calculation as to how that extra $2 is going to help us recover that 5,325 that we spent, and we're going to spend again some money which we won't take from you for RFP. We will come up with a number. If that number is going to take forever, then I'll come back to you and say, hey, this much I'll recover from here, but this much you'll have to pay me again an installment. Alright?
Okay.
Send an email and we will take it forward.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Alright, thank you.
This was the recorded conversation that was sent to us, and the person said I tried everything, reporting to Department of Labor, USCIS, and nothing happened. He said. So this is the context, right? Harold, the question here is, so blatantly this is happening over, and what he has reported and the documents he has shared is mind-boggling. Just like what your story, right? This person has been working for more than 6 months without pay, and they were forcing him to pay money for the H1B, and it's like kind of a dead bondage, right? They ask him to sign, and if he has to leave in between, he has to pay $10,000, or otherwise his H1B has been withdrawn. All those things has happened in this story, in this case. So we are completely lost in that, and we are keeping track on that, and hopefully we will be able to help him out. And I'm not sure what we can say on this. So from this audio recording, it clearly states that the employer is asking money to file his H1B, and also they have collected that from his salary, it seems. So is this something prevalent, or what do you have to say to this?
This is of August last year, right?
Yes. Yeah, this has happened, I think, in 2016. That's what he mentioned. The case has been going on for almost 5 years. That's what he said. The Department of Labor is sending him a mail notice saying that they are still investigating it for almost 2 years.
Usually the cases get done in 6 months to, I would say, 8 months with the US Department of Labor, I would say, until unless the employer tries to dislodge certain evidence. That's one. Number two is that I've seen in many cases that the employer then files for even bankruptcy, and the employee or the victim does not get the back wages. There are so many things, hidden facts, which many common people are not aware of, and then I was not aware of, and that is what I'm trying to bridge the gap and ensure that these delegates, that they should not be allowed to file bankruptcy. Number one, that because they are multi-millionaires, they have the money. Just because they started an LLC and they have the law on their side, the law is at place, and they can file for one, but they will not get convicted, they will not go to prison. And I'll give classic example, Shiva and JK and audience who are watching today. You know, I came on an H1B visa on a $75,000 salary, didn't get paid for 18 months. I filed a case, I won the case, my wife won the case from the Wage and Hour division, but still I didn't get a one penny. After reading the court, the judge signed. Why? He filed for a bankruptcy. I went to the court, I went to the judge, I yelled in the court. Means, in a passionate way, I said, what is this? And you're not supposed to talk there, but the judge said, Harold, we cannot do anything. If the law is there, my job is like a judge, if it's a traffic light red, I have to stop. They give me the example that if it's a red light, I need to stop, I can't do anything, I can't break the rules. He's filed for bankruptcy. And that is not in his or her jurisdiction of the judge. And we cannot do anything. I agree with you guys, like empathize, sympathize, agree with you with everything. And everything was in black and white with me. That he had to pay the money. But here is a real case of my own case. I didn't get a single penny. People thought I filed a suit. He filed a case of $101,000 on me, false. He thought that I'll run away during my bad days. I countersued him for $3 million. In that $49, 50 cents was less. I won the case. But did he pay me? No. He had the back. I won the case. Can you imagine? But what satisfaction I get today is that it's not a question of money. It's a question of justice. And then I also wanted to teach him a lesson. You can't play with any innocent guy or innocent family. But even if I didn't get the money, I'm still running this organization, Eyes Open International, to help people. But I do understand this victims' trauma, about the money. That you need money to survive, you need everything, because I've gone through all that phase in life. And that is what we are trying to ensure that today, if I'm at a given Shiva and JK and delegates are watching back wages, more than hundreds of people. They come to me, I tell them fill a form to Wage and Hour division. I'm talking to Mexican, Guatemala, so many people from different countries, and they got their back wages. Do you know that? They got their back wages checks made to their own countries, to Goa, to Nepal. So many people don't know. So if, in case you are working in a gas station anywhere, you can always apply for that. Thank you.
Yeah, that is one of the reason we really appreciate your bold and courage. I mean, how many of them will have that, Harold? Let's be honest, right? Nobody will have that in, probably it's in your gene or something, like to fight back so strongly, right? This is one of the recent story, I'm just pulling it up, right? The CloudGen, the company that pleads guilty to H1B visa fraud, right? This kind of story keeps coming, right? Even billion-dollar companies like Cognizant, TCS, they all have done this. They are doing this, right? So in this case, like as in your case, right? It's a smaller millionaire or someone like a restaurant owner who is easily like escaping it, like through filing bankruptcy and avoiding to pay those things, and they still, those perpetrators, like they don't get punished, right? So when they don't get punished, it shows like the justice system is broken. And why do you need to even seek justice? Again, you will suffer and the victims suffer. And that's why, like I see, like we all know that, right? Back in India, people who are in at least as a middle class or who are in upper middle class are able to reach to the level and come to dream and come to US. It's not a software engineer can have job anywhere in the world. He has the talent. Why he has to struggle and fight back? So he goes back. There are hundreds and thousands of people who just gave up. They said, like, I'm fed up with the system and going back. So that is what hurts us, right? So as a humanity, we have to address those issues. It's not about like one person gets a CEO, right? How many people will become a CEO of Google, right? Sundar Pichai or Satya Nadella, like, are exceptions, right? Just like throwing some peanuts to one or two Indians and saying like, "Oh, you guys are taking over." No, it's not. It's not like that. So those who, it's an open market, competitiveness is there. Whoever has the talent, they can survive. But abusing it and opening your eyes and seeing right on the naked eye that people are being abused, and you again protect them, the criminals can be protected by a system saying that like, oh, they are bankrupt and they can even in this case, right, the story that we were investigating and we are passionately following it up. He said like, they said they are headquartered in New Jersey. So he filed a complaint with Department of Labor in New Jersey. New Jersey said like, oh, they are not in New Jersey now, they are in Texas. You have to file a complaint with the Texas Department of Labor. And Texas Department of Labor is investigating for more than 2 years, and now they are saying like they have moved their office to Oklahoma or somewhere else. So what is this like? Is this some kind of a sick joke, or they are playing around? And the same thing he reported on other employers in California, where the Department of Labor said, "Oh, there is a whole lot of backlog. Your case is serious and it falls under trafficking. You can file for U visa, T visa, but then that is also backlogged. So you might have to find some alternative." And they said like they cannot investigate the $1 million companies. And it goes on, right? In that episode, we were interviewing the Human Trafficking Legal Center pro bono attorney. She excellently pointed it out, the loopholes in the system. And she said like, they $1 billion companies watched the culpability by saying that, oh, they are our contractors, they are not our employees. We cannot be sued or we cannot be held responsible. So these subcontracting layers, they always have the protection mechanism in the business by having insurance, and anything goes wrong, they will blame it on some of the employees and say that like that guy did the wrong and he has been fired. So nobody owns responsibility and accountability. So that is where we as a community has to come together and try to find a solution how we can stop this. Because we all know that even with the sex trafficking, we had a couple of episodes with even sex trafficking victims, and also the other people who are working on that spectrum, they say like, oh, sex workers, they have the rights. Any adult, like they are free to have sex with anyone. And how can you prove that like it was done by the pimps, or those industry is completely a different ball game. So where do we draw the line?
Shiva, and JK, this is a very, very important subject you have touched about H-1B visa or immigrants who are coming to the United States of America legally on a very like a blue collar job or a big salary. And no one is addressing this issue because there are so many multiple layers of other trafficking happening. People are coming through border, undocumented, on B1, B2 visa. So this is one subject I've been thinking for the last couple of years, because I got so many cases, but it has not been focused. I'll be very honest. Okay, this itself is a big, big Pandora box, and you need to. And I'm happy that you're addressing this particular issue. And what you rightly said, I totally agree, because I was working with one or two delegates in Seattle and in California. They contacted me a couple of years back that they're not getting paid. And the biggest problem I realized is that this multi-billion, not million, billion-dollar companies globally, maybe good companies, they are good people, good CEOs, good ethics, good value, everything. But they outsource. They'll give to the project to TCS or somebody. Okay, here this project you manipulate. So they are there, and whenever the employees goes to them when they're working for a big, I don't want to give the names, and they go to their bosses who are the thing. Well, that we don't know. We outsource. You have to go to them. So that's a big white collar racket, which needs to be addressed. I'm at least happy that you're talking about it. And that is something like, honestly, I would not say that I do not have time, but that is something is there on my list, that to address, to get into that zone and to identify, to understand the depth, like how it is being operated, like how these people are being outsourced, and I've seen especially in this high level profile companies, people are exploited and these people are not even talking. Like in case of labor trafficking, like male, it's a stigma. So those people are stuck. People think, oh, you're working for a multinational company. How can that happen?
Exactly. So that is on your bucket list, right? So there is I really appreciate that, Arol. So you are welcome to join us in that fight as well. The specific provisions have been given. Even attorneys, they say like there is a white collar crime that is happening and that can also be reported and all those things. You exactly pointed it out. That is why like we are running this campaign and we have been sponsored and funded by the victims, and they are hell bound to stop this H1B visa. So because it has been perpetrated like so much, and they told that like you can experiment on your own, we are not lying, right? So here is the proof, and they have given us all the evidence and said like you set up a fake profile, right? For Harold is the original person, right? Like we come up with a different name or put a completely a fake profile for you, right? And submit it like to those clients, and they will get you a job. You don't even have to give interviews. Some proxy person will give an interview on your name, and then they'll get you a job and they ask you to go and work there. And it's like survival. If you survive on the job, they get commission and they get paid. And hundreds and thousands of companies that are being done, and they are even operating it like from India. The surprising part, the recruiters, we set up a profile.
Yes.
I will show you that. Like it's a very funny and interesting story that's going on. A non-existent person is working in a $1 billion company. Will you believe that?
See, this is very, very powerful, and I just want to encourage all the audience today, or maybe when they see it later also, that please come back if you're in that situation and contact Stop Now, and we want live evidence, because people are not coming out and talking about it because they're scared, and we need people to come out and talk. So we have live examples, live stories, and if one person is exposed, it will create that like today I created the thing about if I was not talking, the story of labor trafficking does not exist. People are scared. So we want audience, if you are in that situation, like what JK said, what Shiva said, please come back, email them, phone them, give your live evidence. Like don't tell anybody, don't tell your employers, but you tell us the exact situation. And like today I'm on the show, I can very confidently tell Shiva and JK and Stop Now that I will start working. You will have to give me some time where I will try to organize with the right law enforcement agencies on one particular case of this type of a scenario, and work on it and try to surface and get justice for that victim and expose those high profile companies or whoever is doing it. But let's work on that, and I'm more than happy to work on this particular project, because I always believe that it's a teamwork. I just alone cannot do it. We need a source, we need a victim. We just, I know it's happening there. I'll give one classic example. I think it was 4 years back or 3 years back, I just got appointed by President Barack Obama. And one victim from Seattle contacted me working for I can't give the name, for a high profile company. And when he called me and told me, yeah, he's not doing my H1B visa, and they're not doing this, and I said, what? And they're exploiting me. And the owner is, his boss or whoever was sitting in Delhi. Then I told him one thing, because we had a couple of conversations. It was not one conversation, couple of conversations for a couple of weeks. Then one friend I told him, okay, I'll take up your case. Do you have the guts to stand beside me? I'll take but do you have the guts? And then you tell me, and then I'll do everything. Then I said, okay, just go and talk to that boss in Delhi, give me my reference. And then he said, Harold, give me about 2 weeks time. So after 2 weeks, he came back to me. That boss, he might have showed my, I don't know, whatever it is. He then paid him back all his things, and he did his H1B visa. And today he's a US citizen. So just the name did it. Or maybe I don't know what he did it. But I was happy his work got done.
Yeah,
But
that,
initially I was scared.
I mean, Harold, come on, right? We are not here like to blackmail anyone, right? By showing your profile and saying that
No,
we
no,
have a high
no, no,
profile
no, no.
contacts. It's nothing like that. I'm joking, right? Just to make the conversation more.
They
It's
may
a
like
serious
they know
topic.
that okay, we're going to contact stop now. You're not doing it's not a blackmail. There's a resource like you call hotline number. You're calling 911. It's not a blackmail because you're in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, see,
It's
many
not a
people, as
blackmail.
you
You're trying to
said,
help
right?
somebody.
So when
We are
you,
not doing it for money. We are doing it out of passion. And
so,
today somebody calls me and says I'm in Texas. I say why not call stop now? Call JK. Call Shiva. Like that's what I do.
yeah, so there are multiple controversy. I think we can continue with those conversations maybe in the forthcoming week and the episodes once we have the evidence, and we will dig into these further conversations. Harold, before we wrap this for the today's call, tell me, like, people who are on H1B, can they do business?
See, many people don't know so again it comes to human rights, the 30 human rights of the United Nations. Today, if you're on H1B visa, Shiva or any person who is there, or you're on any visa, even if you don't have a visa, you don't have any status, and you have no criminal record, you can, on this country, you can do anything. You can buy a house, you can start your own business. There are ways and means. If you are intellectual, you're smart, you're a good human being, you want to help the community, you can do so much stuff. You can do community service also. Like you can do community service at US Open in New York. You can do community service in Cincinnati Masters. That's what we did. I'm giving my own example. My sons have been ball boys for Djokovic, Federer, Serena Williams, you name them. Everyone, including the Indian stars, tennis players for the last 12 years. And we didn't have a status. But nobody knows that. So you can do it. This is it's freedom. That is nothing that just because you're on H1B visa, no, you can do. There are, in the right way, like whatever you want to do, you have the opportunity, you have the ability, you have the capability to do it, and please go ahead and do it. Why you don't have to be under that particular umbrella? We always think, oh no, you have to be under that umbrella. You can do like 4 or 5 jobs. You'll be amazed. I go to DC, I'm traveling there, people are doing Uber, they are working, some delegates are working at the white collar jobs, at the law enforcement agency. On the weekends they do that. They're doing Uber, they're doing DoorDash. So no job is of less dignity. And even like there are so many girls like here whose wife are dependent, H4 dependent visa. There you can do so much work, community service. There are so much opportunities, and people respect it, and people are not aware of it.
Yeah, that's interesting, quite interesting, because we had differing opinion on that, right? One other person who we interviewed in the past, he said the same thing. You can do business on any visa. There is no similar to what you said, and the point is, when we discuss these things with the attorneys, we had like some shows with the attorneys as well. I will share with you later on. I don't want to drag towards that, but those attorneys, they are clearly stating that, like, no, you cannot. It is a violation. You will not get green card, and if you are on non-immigrant H1B visa, you are tied to your employer. You can only work for your employer. You cannot do any additional part-time work to make income. You can make investments, you can buy houses, do real estate thing, or non-profit work or charity work, but not anything that is. We were surprised, like when we argued that, like even the other guy, like who said he runs a business and he's on H1B, and he challenges, you bring on any attorney, and I have requested from the Freedom of Information Act, like just like RTI in India. He said, like, there is a whole lot of thing. I have documents, USCIS, Department of Labor, everybody has stated that, like, there is no provision like that, like you cannot do business, and we have no restrictions on that. So when they are saying that, why the attorneys and law firms are lobbying it in a different way, and they are playing the ball in a different way, that is still a puzzle for me. And I don't want to touch upon those things right away, but just something to think about, and how we can bring some attorneys or any lawyers in our show and ask them these questions. And are you up for that? Like, you will be the right person to ask those questions.
See, what you said, JK is right, but I'll tell you one thing. I don't want to disclose anything. I know so many people who are undocumented are owning businesses here in the US and flourishing. And they're paying their taxes, whatever it is. But there are things, and there are a lot of people who have done like exorbitant achievement. And I'm telling you one thing, when I didn't have a status, or my family didn't have a status, right? My son was appointed as a national scholar in the US. He was appointed as a global scholar. He was invited to President Barack Obama's inaugural function. He was invited for a global scholar to China, but he could not fly because he didn't have a status. That's a different story. We tried a lot, right? But and then I tried so much that had he flown to China for that global conference, there was no way that he could come back. So that's why we didn't fly him out. So there was certain laws by the immigration. We contacted the immigration department, all those things, and they said, like you said, the lawyers said, no, it is not possible. But there are a lot of resources also, ways to do it. That we need to show our audience and navigate them. Okay, there are resources, how we can do it and go around. And that we have to respect, and that's possible. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. This was a wonderful conversation I had for a long time in my live show. And always I encourage the audience to call in. Sorry, this time we missed the first caller, and we will try to engage more in the next episodes. And Shiva, before we wrap up, if you have any questions or comments.
Yes. My last question is like, how do you see the people who freelancer, whether they are workers or business people?
When you say freelancers means, can you explain that a little bit more?
A freelance designer or whatever, if they are a graphic designer or a web designer or a software, they go for a freelance and they take a project and they work for a client and they pay for their work.
See, there are many individuals, Shiva I've seen here, they do freelancing, they start businesses in US and they go back to their own country. So they're not here for their green card. So many people are not aware. It's not only you have to have a green card. See, your goal is to live a good and happy life. So this country has opportunities where you can even start business. Again, go back to UK. There are so many people I know that are doing flourishing business. They don't have a green card, and they're multi-billionaires. They've got houses in California, in Aspen, New York, and they're contributing to the revenue of the US. And they've got businesses all over the world. And there are so many people, not one. So many times, see, Ian, I was not aware of this. I am also learning. I am also a student of life, right? And when I learn something, I know something, I try to share it with all the victims and survivors. I tell the victims, do not get scared. Why are you scared? They're not even going out. They don't even go to a restaurant. They know something. I said, who deport you? As far as not done anything wrong, nobody. Give my name, I said. Call me. So that human rights awareness is very important. Education, like what you're doing today on Stop Now. Like those baby steps, and then people get courage. Oh, okay, wow, I can contact. Let me contact. There are so many girls who are into huge domestic violence on H4 visa. So many I get calls. So many of them are put in shelter homes. But they're all scared because they know we can't do anything. And these are very severe cases, not very very, very extreme cases, which I myself very traumatized and shocked because I am also a guy, right? And I always believe, how can a guy do that? To his own wife and kids. But these are some reality, facts, and they're scared because they are here on an H4 dependent visa.
Exactly. Harold, we will touch on those things, the H4 visa, right? You know the story of it, and it's been long held as a dependent visa, and people cannot do anything, they cannot work, and they don't have the employment authorization document. Now they have got that after Obama's effort in that to provide. And now it's an interesting story that's happening. All these recruiters and these companies are using that as a manipulation and saying that they don't want H1B candidates, they want H4 candidates. How can a H4 candidate be there without an H1B? So what happens that? So we wanted to address those issues as well. and it's a long struggle. I think we are on the same boat, and we will expose those things in the future episodes. And thank you so much again for joining us. It's been a pleasure, and we are officially announcing our partnership with Eyes Open International to fundraise for their organization and also provide all the support that is needed for the human trafficking and labor trafficking victim from Stop Now. Once again, thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye for
Yeah,
now.
thank you, Shiva.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, JK.
Thank you.
Stop Now, a social experiment enterprise. Stop H1B, a campaign to end modern slavery. YouTube live talk shows. Stop Now.